Smoking, drugs use is harmful to health. All stories and the characters in this story are fictional. Cold Tuber's only purpose is to entertain the audience. Coincidence of any character with the plot of the story is purely coincidental.
King Letter, with the help of King Guffer, first created the illusion of numbers, then the illusion of colors, and tried to create differences among people. His ruse takes on different forms at different times to hide the truth, but is able to sustain his ruse. When he begins to admit his trickery, he takes the young men captive. Because he think, the young men are trying to constantly introducing people to the truth and informing people about his tricks. King Guffer used to do Kali Sadhana. But he forgets that good acts as auspicious energy as well as evil energy in nature. The power that appears in the form of a goddess to the young man, and told about the errors of human behavior, which is just a reflection of the evil hidden in them. The goddess gives an advance warning about the cause and the way, which forces people to constantly choose the path of damnation. And when people want this image, sometimes they accept it out of fear of the unknown and sometimes with their own wishes. Now what happened next?
The youth was a strong, able man. Among all the terrible experiences he had to face in his life, his imprisonment was the worst. Neither time nor time was on his side, but with the blessings of Hecate, the goddess of fortune, neither time nor time was able to win over him. While cutting wood in the forest, King Guffer's men hit him on his head, trapping him in a secluded spot in the forest. And in this helpless state the goddess appears to him and gives the forewarning of the curse. In the conversation, when the young man wants to know who the cursed people are and how to recognize them, the goddess utters a verse.
The class system will determine the high and low instincts of people. Among people who love following and imitating, this gap is about knowing people.
The youth does not understand the meaning of the verse. As he faced brutal torture, he began to search for the meaning of this verse. One night, the goddess came to him in his dream. Come and say that.
People will be like that, they will search in their own identity of other.
Meanwhile, he woke up with a loud noise. When he opened his eyes, a hammer floated in front of him. Again. When that loud sound came to his ears, it seems like someone is hammering away at the iron. He turned off and opened his eyes again. He saw that the floated hammer was gone. Looked here and there but could not find anywhere. After that, as soon as he put his head on the bed, and tried to remember the goddess in his dream, he combined the dream and the reality. He saw an image of a person with a deformed face, floated in front of his eyes. Everything disappeared into the air again. Now he understood what the goddess Hecate had said about the cursed people. As soon as he remembered the verse, everything became clear to him about the types and symptoms of cursed people. People are generally attracted to things they like and ignore things they don't like. But the youth is subjected to some brutal behavior during their helpless situation. Until he make attention about those brutal behavior. After that it becomes permanently embedded in his brain. Then began the abuse of torture. When the King Guffer realized that, if he had to keep the people of the kingdom under illusion, he had to make him captives and use that method on him alone. So that after he is freed, he will not try to convince the common people anymore. The cursed people tried many ways to avoid the curse and symptoms of cursed at one point, but it was not to be. Because it is their own creation. The youth say something about their confinement.
I don't think such a cruel behavior of nature is natural to me. The first thing that came to my attention in my confinement was that, every morning at a particular time, in the midst of solitude, some wild animals around the house, such as wild boars, dogs, donkeys, which would wake me up daily by braying. It kept on sounding until I left my bed. Then, as soon as I left the bed, the wild animal rampage of monkey or Hanuman began on the roof of the house. At first, I still didn't know where I was, because there was no chance for a single point of light to enter anywhere in the room. It went on like this, almost the whole day. At times I ignored everything, but then they seemed to become more aggressive. It seemed like the animals were roaming around the house, and talking in human voice. What a surprise to all those words coming from the top of the house again. For the first 7 days I was starved with excruciating pains, and the affliction seemed to be deadly. The animals would come to the side of the house in a sleepy state again, in the morning and leave. That night Goddess came again in a dream and said a verse.
People are suffering like them. You not just to gain. What happened? What happened? Because they suffering once again, and again. This is the curse for them.
After that, as soon as I woke up and saw 2 people with deformed faces sitting face to face, laughing at each other, crying at the end, and then everything disappeared again. Once again I understood, when I matched the floated image scene with the verse.
When a person uses his behavior to abuse, his level of use does not change even if he hopes for 1,000 good uses later. The young man said about another big sign of cursed people.
According to symptoms of cursed people, they will always find themselves in the words of others, which will at one time take the form of disease. Some people call it spirituality to hide their symptoms and understand their mind. But they will be unwilling to admit what they have done or are trying to do, so surround them. If later the cursed people tried to artificially establish the curse of the goddess by their own cunning, but the result was zero.
The favored son of King Lutter, the involved King Guffer, kept the young men captive, and continued to try to keep the people of the kingdom in confusion. It promotes a policy, but it didn't do much good, because his policy was consuming him and all those opportunistic people, because of the curse of goddess. Just as the people of the kingdom, being confused themselves, began to spread the opposite confusion. Then the king resorted to a different trick. Again he sent his counselors and all those opportunistic men undercover and informed them of his new trick. Now he classified the external form of man, structured the character of a man and his qualities, then the characteristics in different people, and managed to spread it among different people. What happened as a result was that people began to fear and hate each other. By creating barriers between each other, they tried to block the way to help each other. Because besides confusing people, King needed to know how, by what means, and by whom, his policy was being enforced on him. According to his trick, the people of the state are first under illusion by numbers, then colors, and now characteristics. Opportunist people started to imitate common people, their manners, their behavior, their speech, and made people a target and started using the behavior of people they know in their surroundings. What happened in this is that, when a stranger behaves like a familiar person in front of a person, the confusion that arises in his mind. He is born with a negative reaction to his familiar people, familiar situation, familiar environment. On the one hand, he is annoyed by this, as if there is any connection between the people he knows and the environment with the opportunistic people, who are reacting at all. In reality, it happens that there is no connection between the two parties, and the target is the man who admits to confusion. This process once again took the form of disease among people, and the chain reaction began to spread. As if people were playing a hellish game, once again they started forgetting the real truth. Meanwhile, the oppression of the young people during the helpless situation continued to increase by applying a new trick. Added to the torture he was constantly facing in captivity was a new level of torture. He was never allowed to sleep. Just when he was going to sleep, the same old pestilence of wild animals would start on the roof of the house, all around. According to him,
food came for me twice a day, morning and night. But I could not eat properly, because as soon as I sat down to eat, there was a voice from the side of the room in the language. What was said could not be understood, only a special word that was related to food. A word that had ingredients in the food. After that, whenever the ingredient was seen, when the food was eaten, there was a doubt in the mind whether it was right to eat the food. Although I used to ignore everything because of hungriness and throw away the ingredients from the food, but at the same time new problems started. The material was scattered in different parts of the house when I am sleeping, and the words related to that material were repeated around the house. As if hearing the spoken word, remembering the material or looking at the material spread in the room, there is a special sound in that direction, as if all the mind controls the brain, no thought could be given about how to get out of here. During sleep, before sleep, and just before waking up, this kind of torture, but every day in a different way, is carried out. One night the goddess came again in a dream. Again she says,
The way, the material, or any so much like before. Neither you know, nor you value any more.
After the dream, when I woke up in the morning, I saw a pond in front of my eyes, in which 2 fish were floating, one alive, and one dead, and suddenly I heard the sound of a wild dog. As soon as the sound came to my ears, the scene before my eyes began to blur. It seemed that the sound was preventing me from seeing the truth. I strained my brain again. The scene became clear again, the dog barked again. As soon as I heard this word, everything disappeared in an incomplete state. I understand that they must have guessed about this warning of the invisible, because of which he is trying to obstruct. My guess was right. And I also understood why this new way of torture started. I found the truth of my surmise when the next day, when the uncompleted scene came before my eyes, I heard the sound of the wild dog again. And everything disappeared. After that, one morning when I woke up, I saw the door of the room open. At first I thought I was wrong. But the door is not really open. As I got up quickly and went to the door, I saw a black shadow pass in front of the door. A little scared. Then, as I came out of the door, I saw a small hut in the middle of the lonely forest where I was kept. Before I knew which way to go, the black shadow seemed to pass in front of me again. As soon as I started to go in that direction, a crow flew from behind. I stopped again. I think I am going in the right direction. Looking back, I saw a wild dog standing. A locked red tongue protrudes from inside its huge jaws. I didn't know what to do. I kept moving back little by little. Seeing the dog getting aggressive as I moved back, I got a branch of a tree near my hand, hit the dog's head hard with it. One of the dog's eyes came out. I jumped and sat on a nearby tree. Then an amazing thing happened. It seemed that the sound of thousands of wild dogs was coming from the side of the forest. It seems that everything is coming here. I looked down and saw the dog walking around in a bloody state. Looking at the sky, I saw that the sky was covered with black clouds. It is black all around. And it seems that the words are coming closer. I did not understand what to do. The wind has started to blow. The tree is swinging very fast. I thought I might not be able to stay on the tree much longer. A group of wild dogs came from all sides, jumping up the tree trying to attack me. In the strong wind, I could no longer hold on to the branches of the tree and fell into the wild dogs. Death is in front of my eyes. Suddenly, a loud cloud appeared in the sky, and the thunder fell among the wild dogs. I ran away from the pack of wild dogs as the downpour occurred. When I reached the hut again, I saw that the sky was completely clear. There was nothing behind. It seemed as if a terrible whirlwind had driven me here again. I waited a bit and fixed a direction. Then I started walking. As I walked, I felt like someone was following me. Footsteps on the leaves are heard. After some distance, while inside the house, the sounds like wild animals making different sounds around me invisible started again. Along with the attack of monkeys, Hanuman on the tree head. As I go forward, it seems that the words are getting clearer. As soon as I think that I have lost my mind about the direction of the sound, a crow calls out from some direction and I start walking towards it without thinking. After walking like this for a while, when I thought I had lost my way, I saw a big hole in front of me. Unable to handle the height, I fell into the hole and lost consciousness. When I regain consciousness, I open my eyes and see that I am lying in that room again, but the atmosphere of the room seems to have been changed. An unusual thing happened that night. I saw a light coming from one side of the door. I could not see anything when the light came to my eyes. Suddenly, a smoke like gas fills the room through the back window, and a woman's voice is heard. She says,
You were as you were, I am making you as you were.
Then everything went back to normal. I thought maybe I was dreaming, and in the dream the goddess came and said the verse, which means asking me to search. I fell asleep again. Nothing happened when I woke up in the morning. No dog noises, no blurry images. Remembering what I had seen in the dream, I felt my heart pounding and my head becoming heavy. And I feel like some invisible voice is telling me, now you have to do this, you have to do that. And so I am. When I realized that it was trying to control my mind again on behalf of a goddess, I remembered the last verse of the goddess. Now everything is clear again among the two. There is a fake one.
Actually, when King Guffer guesses the reason for his failed attempts to control the youths, he allows him to escape from the house, so that as soon as he leaves the house, he is fed by Kali Bandan to wander in the forest. On this occasion, by changing the environment of the house, creating an artificial spiritual environment of goddess and prevent the young man from the real truth, he has created the environment of the state. But due to the blessings of the goddess, the king's illusion, managing the characteristics of a person in a single form among different people failed to manage in the youth.